So I'm Nichole, Hussey, and as we've discussed, I was recently named Young Victorian of the Year for this year, and that's for my contribution with youth suicide prevention. So in 2011, I lost a close friend to suicide, and having lost my close friend and knowing many family and friends that were grieving for the same reasons, I did become quite passionate with this cause and everything. So a friend of mine created the Facebook page that Darren spoke about back in June 2012. So that's when I became involved with all of this, as well as when I lost my friend. So with social media, it can be hard to determine and to understand with all of the new and upcoming websites and applications and everything that we can use on our smartphones. Sorry guys. So social media sites such as Facebook and Twitter are two of the most common to be thrown around. Whilst as individuals we are beginning to use these websites more and more often, so are those in the professional world. So companies are starting to use these throughout the beginning stages before employment as well. So whilst we're seeing the good, we are seeing bad as well. Not with jobs, no. Although there are some great aspects of social media websites, there are also the negative sides, and this is something that we are tending to see with our youth. So bullies do have easier access to get to their victim at any given time of the day or night, and it is also easy for people to start to feel alone and become quite dependent on the internet world. Social media does have many risks from different areas of the grid, but they can be managed. So if we were to look at the bullying side of social media, how are you to know if your child is being bullied or not? At the same time, you don't want to be intruding on your child and looking over their shoulder. So with this, I have heard different stories of how parents have, in a sense, taken control. One of them, it's actually my cousins. They haven't been able to use Facebook until they've had the understanding of the risks with using it. So their parents have actually told them they can have a Facebook if they weren't to use their actual surname. So I've got one cousin who's used her mother's maiden name, and a cousin who has used her middle name. So that way they're only able to be friends with people who actually physically know them outside of the internet world. So they're school friends and everything, as they know these details. I did hear another story at work the other day where the parents actually had the control of the Facebook page by having the sign-in details, being the email address and the password. So while the child had access, the parent had the whole management side of it. So they could make sure that it was all being controlled and easily managed. So although we do have these rules and regulations amongst using social media to try and prevent the negative use of it, it is also helpful to ask the question. So with myself, I didn't get bullied or anything, but had I been bullied, I would have wanted the questions to be asked to me. Are these people your friends? Are you friends at school or outside of school? Because I know that if I had been asked these questions in my face, I would have been able to, even asking the girls, if you don't know them and they're bullying you, then I can tell in their facial expressions that something's not right. So now that we are of the understanding that people are now relating to social media for their news and conversations, this is the new form of marketing. Participating in online conversations that shape perceptions of your brand, building relationships with influencers in your field, and creating a community is online PR. And this is what we're doing with Interlife in the form of preventing suicide in youth, using Facebook, Twitter, and we have an Instagram, slowly building. With that week, so as Darren said, we have created a community of 18,000 and it is constantly growing. So we have members there that relate to others with their emotions and issues, and we are influencing the topic of suicide and depression and demonstrating that it is okay to not be okay and to speak with your peers and professionals. So with Facebook in itself, it is a community of over 800 million active users, and what better than to have this page that we have to allow that discussion openly. With each Facebook user as well, they do have an average of 130 friends on. So with that, a single message can travel within minutes. We also know that Twitter has over 100 million active users, and approximately half of these are logging in daily. So this is another form of communication with the topic as well. So people also have a misconception that all social media is negative, and not only is Interlife using social media positively, but all politicians are as well, a form of communicating with the younger members of the country and allowing them their say. Youth are a lot more knowledgeable in the sense of news as they hear about it on social media. So I'm of the belief that they take more of an interest in the world news, and I'm coming from myself because I do now. So because I can see it being updated all the time, I'm using social media to know what's going on, otherwise I would not know what's going on in politics. So with going back to what I was saying before with how do we keep our youth safe, it's obviously going to be a different scenario as each person's different. Whilst we can try and have the same methods, with the stories that I've heard of the parents having the control of the child's Facebook page, it's obviously not going to work for everybody. But the best way for keeping everyone safe is in the form of communication. So we need to be openly speaking about the risks and dangers of social media and internet use. And while we're trying to do this with our Preventing Suicide in Youth page, we are making a difference, but a lot of it does come from our face-to-face conversations with those outside of the social media network. So with that, granted, when I was growing up, I wasn't aware of a lot of the dangers, but I was aware of some of the risks, but I didn't take it in necessarily. And that conversation that me and Darren were having earlier, 6 or 7 years ago, social media was still growing, and it wasn't spoken about a whole lot. So I believe that as a country we are speaking about the dangers a lot more, and it's becoming a lot more knowledgeable to others as well. One moment. Sorry. So I believe that, as I said, we are speaking about the dangers a lot more. Within our Facebook page, we do have a large amount of people that are quite vulnerable, and the safety of our members is our number one priority, whether it be safety from self-harm or from other members preying on the vulnerable. We have a dedicated team that has been carefully checked and complied to monitor the page and remove any grooming behaviours. Whilst we all know that privacy is the key step to protecting ourselves and our youth from online predators, we should be checking our privacy settings on our profiles regularly to ensure that they are not automatically reset at any stage. It's also recommended in checking your antivirus software, as most companies will have a security program or an antivirus software, and they will allow you to have a parental lock. So the parental lock allows you to type in certain words that you don't want to be searchable, and so this will prevent any pages containing those particular words to stop loading. Whilst I've been known to tag myself whilst I'm out, and I have been doing it while I'm here, it has also been a concern of mine. So something which my mother, and we were discussing it on our way down as well, and their parents as well, has drilled into our heads, is that whenever...
Explain what tagging yourself means.
Saying I'm in a place, so it shows where I am. And with that, it also shows where you're not, being that you're not at home. That's where I was going with that. So my parents and their parents also always drilled into our head that if we weren't at home, don't tag yourself out, especially if there's no one at home. It allows people to know that you're not there, and also know that there's no one at the house, preventing or allowing criminals actually to go in and rob the house. So with that, whilst I was writing this, I also had this thought as well, which I never had prior to writing this out, but we all talk about our own privacy settings and making sure that our privacy is secure and making sure that no one can see what we're doing. But I never thought on the other side, if somebody was to steal somebody's phone or their phone had been lost, a lot of people will be automatically logged into Facebook. So if somebody gets a hold of somebody else's phone and you're writing or tagging yourself because you have the belief that you've only got your friends on the page or on your page, if that person's phone's gone missing or stolen, then this criminal, let's call them, can now see where you are, what you're doing, and if you're at home or not. So that was one thing that came to my head when I was writing this, which I'd never thought of, but now I'm feeling quite strong about that one, because it's something that we don't talk about. We talk about our own privacy, but we don't talk about the privacy of other people or their privacy. We don't know what their privacy settings are. We don't know who can log in and use their Facebook. We don't know how many people have their details or anything. So that's the other thing, was to make sure that we're only writing what we are comfortable with on the internet, because it will always be searchable. It doesn't get removed. It won't be removed from the internet, even if you delete it. So once again, privacy is a major factor in remaining safe, but so is knowledge and awareness. So we need to be aware of the physical signs that someone may be getting bullied or is depressed, And some of these signs are that they stop activities that they love, start to shut down and block people out and become distant. I have found that, commonly short answers are also a key point as well. So whilst I am realistic in the fact that we won't be able to prevent our youth or anyone in general meeting up with people from the internet that they've never met before, no matter how long a conversation may occur for online, we do need to make sure that they are aware as well to let somebody know of the who's, when's and where's if they are meeting up with somebody, or take a friend as well, just so that, we know where they are, or somebody knows where they are. Yeah, safety in numbers. So, and it is going to be harder as well on TV. It's dating websites are being more promoted now than they ever were. So with that, I will leave you with a final thought as with what my dad did when me and my sisters were younger. He works 12-hour shifts, and it's either at night or during the day. And so he used to take the modem away from our house so that we wouldn't be able to access the internet. And when I was writing it, I thought this would be a fantastic idea so that we could prevent that whilst we weren't watching. But then I realised that we have Wi-Fi and we have smartphones. So if you're able to, that could be an idea at night, because I ended up getting a lot more sleep than planned. But that's all I've got.